Hello, my most amazing artists. Before today's video starts, I wanted to announce our artist leaderboard artist. This week, it's Lorenzo. Congrats, Lorenzo! Woo! He did a great job drawing the Mandalorian for Fun Friday. I'm proud of him for trying a new and more challenging drawing. Great job, Lorenzo! Remember, if you want to be an artist on the artist leaderboard, all you need to do is watch today's video and make today's drawing. Once you finish, take a photo of what you drew and submit it to the yellow Daily Classwork button. Remember, this is how I take attendance each day. So if you don't submit today's drawing, you won't be counted as present even if you watched the video. So make sure you take a photo and hit submit. All right, guys, now let's get to the video. Did you know trees are a lot like us? No, not like that. What I mean is, trees have really interesting and unique lives, just like us. A tree grows a ring for every year that it lives. So if you count the tree's rings, you can tell how old a tree is. But that's not all a tree's rings tell us. Check this out.
Boy Squeaks, it's been a great day hiking in the woods, but I think I'm ready to go home now. What are you looking at over there? You're counting? Well, there's stuff that we can count back at the fort. Oh, you're counting the rings of that tree stump. And you're already at 64? Well, you should keep going then. See, during a tree's growing season, that's spring and summer, the tree will get taller and wider and add another layer of wood around its middle. Those layers are the rings. Early in the growing season, the tree grows a lighter colored wood called early wood. And then in the late summer, it grows a darker wood called late wood. And I bet you can guess where those names came from. One light ring plus one dark ring make up 1 year in the tree's life. The rings in the middle here are the earliest ones. It looks like the first few years of this tree's life were really great. And then I see some thin rings over here. That means the tree was having a tough time. It didn't get everything it needed, so it didn't grow as much. Maybe it didn't have enough sunlight, or maybe there was a drought, which means that this area didn't get enough rain. Or insects might have eaten a lot of the tree's leaves that year, which made it grow more slowly. And then the rings get wider on one side. So just when the tree was starting to grow up, something started pushing on it, and it leaned to one side. So it grew thicker on that side to help support itself. And then there are a few thin rings right after that. And then our tree evened out and grew some nice, thick, even rings. Maybe some other trees had been pushing it aside and crowding the sunlight. And then maybe they fell down. So our tree finally had all the sunlight it needed. Oh, wow! It looks like there might have been a small fire after that. A whole side of the tree was scarred, but it kept growing new wood over the scar every year. This tree had some good years and some really tough ones, but it stuck it out and it kept growing. It lived a long, full life until it was chopped down. Oh, don't worry, Squeaks. We don't have to chop down a tree to count its rings and learn all about it. Scientists have a special tool for that. It's called an Increment Borer, which looks kind of like the letter T. By putting the long, thin bit into the tree and turning the handles around and around, a scientist can get the Increment Borer all the way into the center of the tree and pull out a thin strip of wood called a core. That doesn't hurt the tree too much because these cores are tiny. They're less wide than my fingernail, but they can tell us the story of that tree's life just like a tree stump would. We just looked at the life of one tree. Now imagine if you had lots and lots of cores of trees from the same area and looked at all of them together. If the same two trees survived a fire or a very cold year, we can find out by comparing their rings. And with enough cores, we can even figure out exactly what year those things happened. There are scientists whose whole job is to study tree rings like these. One thing they do is match up different samples to each other to figure out what happened in these trees' lives. We can even compare histories from the trees with records people have kept of the weather. Those records usually go back 100 or 150 years, but some trees are much older than that, by hundreds or even thousands of years. The more samples scientists have, the more they can learn, both about how an area's weather has changed over time and about big events like droughts or insect infestations. That's a much bigger story than the life of just one tree. Trees go through a lot of rough times that make it hard for them to keep going, but they keep growing and growing all through the droughts and the insects and the fires. I think I'm going to try and be more like a tree. And you know what, Squeaks? I thought I was ready to go home, but I think I want to spend some more time with the tree.
I know what you're thinking. Hey, where's the art? This is the art! Tony Hong is an artist from Los Angeles. He did not always have an easy life when he first started drawing, but he kept working and kept persevering, and now he's pretty famous. His work is all about trees. He loves to draw trees and he loves to draw tree rings. They are a big inspiration in his life, and I thought today we might use him as our inspiration too. Take a look at some of his great work. Imagine if you could see your life laid out like the rings of a tree. What would your tree rings tell us? I wonder. Would they tell us that you had a healthy growing season? Would they tell us that a certain time in your life was difficult or challenging? What would the bark look like on the outside? Would there be any spots with rain? Spots with sunshine? Would the rings tell us about your life, about sunny days and rainy days, good days and bad? Would the rings show us that you always keep growing? How old would your tree be? How many rings would it have? Would you be as old as this tree? This tree is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I don't know, but I think you might be close to the same age. Today in our drawing, we are going to imagine our life as a tree, as if we could see our lives laid out in circles, ring by ring, each ring representing a year that we were alive. The first thing that I'm going to do is take this piece of wood off my paper and grab a pen or a pencil. Then we are going to start by drawing a curvy or wiggly circle that is right in the center of the paper. This circle is going to represent the year that you were born. You can write your birthday here in the middle of the circle or write a number 0. This circle is your year 0 when you were born. You probably don't remember a lot about this year. Then you're going to draw a ring around that circle for each year of life that you lived. You want to think about when you're drawing these rings, what kinds of things happened in your life that year. For example, when I first started growing, my life wasn't that interesting, so I don't remember a lot about those years, so I might make those years smooth and easy lines. I will write notes in each ring of what happened that year. For example, when I was 1 year old, I learned to talk, so I am going to write a note in my first ring that I learned to talk, and I might even write the number 1. In my second ring, when I was 2 years old, I learned how to walk. So in my second ring, I might write the number 2 and write a note in my second ring that I learned how to walk. I'm going to keep drawing rings around rings for each year that I was alive. Remember, the lines you use to make your years and to make your rings represent if your life was maybe going good that year or kind of rough, or maybe half of that year was good, half of that year was rough, or all of it was great. When I keep going, I am going to add more rings around my tree. For example, what happened when I was 3 years old? Not much. I can't really remember a lot about that year, so I might not put a lot of notes in the years I don't really remember. I just remembered that when I was 4 years old, my brother was born. So I'm going to make sure that I put that I had a baby brother born in the year that I was 4. I'm going to keep on working, and you might want to start thinking about what kinds of things you're going to put in your tree rings. When I was 5, I started kindergarten. So when I draw my 5th ring, I'm going to write kindergarten because I was 5 and I just started school. When I was 6 years old, what happened in my life? Anything good or bad? What about your life? I know that when I was 6, I moved into a new house and it was different. So I'm going to write that note on that ring, and I might even make the line a little more wiggly. When I was in 2nd grade, that year was kind of a hard year for me. So I'm going to use a spiky circle to represent that year was a tough year for me as a tree. And I'm going to write a note that I was in 2nd grade. I'm going to keep drawing circles for every year that I am alive. In 3rd grade, I learned how to ride a bike. So I'm going to write a note that I learned how to ride a bike, and I'm going to start by drawing a nice smooth line for my 3rd year. But I also broke my ankle when I was riding my bike. So I'm going to add a little cut out part of my tree, a little sliver of my tree that represents where I broke my ankle. Kind of like a crack in my tree. So I'm going to draw a crack in my tree to represent where I broke my ankle. And I might make a little note there. When I was 9 years old, I got a dog, so I'm going to write that in the ring for my 9th year. I'm going to keep on going until I have all the rings that represent how many years I was alive, and I made my notes for what ages or what happened to me during that year. I use lots of short, straight, wiggly lines to draw the bark on the outside of my tree. You want to make sure to draw bark on the outside of your tree when you're done so that you know it is bark. After I drew my bark around my tree, I used my pencil to shade in the bark to look a lot darker. Once you finish shading, you can use colors if you have them to add colors to the rings of your tree. Consider using things like rainbow colors or complementary colors. Complementary colors are colors that look good together, like red and green, blue and orange, purple and yellow. You could also use colors that you just find pleasing. Once you finish adding color, you might think about adding a background to your picture. The background of your picture isn't required, but you can add it to make your picture more interesting. Take a look at what I added. I'm going to add some shapes, lines, and patterns all around my tree to make my picture a little more interesting. You could just color the background one color, you could add a pattern, you could draw a picture. It's totally up to you. I hope you guys have fun making your own tree to represent your life. Make sure you take a picture and post it to the art class Schoology page. Have fun, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.